younger people and younger leaders bring what I call blank slate. They don't have all the preconceived notions. Older leaders do bring the experience, the contextual ideas, the history, and that can be helpful because it can make sure that you're not trying to reinvent the wheel over and over and over and over and over again. When they come together, that's the best innovation of all and the best leadership of all.
Hello, and welcome to Not Born Yesterday, a podcast dedicated to older adults and the challenges and joys of aging. I'm Miriam Goodman. Not Born Yesterday examines the problems and solutions of growing older today. We bring you the wisdom and voices of experts in the field of aging and offer tips on how to feel your best, use your lifetime skills and experience, and make the coming months and years as fulfilling as possible.
I'm Lynn Winter-Gross. Not Born Yesterday is brought to you by Next Village San Francisco, a local nonprofit providing older adults with support to help age in place, and by Assisted Living Locators, a San Francisco Bay Area senior care advisory service, helping families make informed decisions about senior care and living options.
Today on Not Born Yesterday, we're looking at a new path for older adults thinking about retirement or already retired. Some feel invisible after they stop working and don't know how to take advantage of skills they developed over the years. Others say they miss the intellectual stimulation of a job, the structure, and the workplace community, and are redefining what retirement looks like today by starting new businesses.
How they get started and the challenges they face is an area our guest knows well. Jannette Anderson is the founder of Maturepreneur and believes that age is not a barrier to starting a business. She's worked with many older adults transitioning into business ownership and understands both the opportunities and the challenges. Jannette, welcome to Not Born Yesterday.
Thank you so much, ladies. I'm happy to see you both again and really excited about this conversation.
We have talked on this podcast about the loss many feel after they retire, and we've discussed options, but starting a new business late in life, that's novel. How did you discover that older people would want to start their own business?
Well, there's many answers to that. The first one is I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I'm 60, almost 66 tomorrow. I'll be 66. And I've been running a business for as long as I can remember, literally since I was 6. And so I also started to do some real research around it when I was the subject of ageism at an event, and started to notice that people who were 55, 60 and over were really being dismissed and overlooked and sometimes invisible. So I started to dive deeper and understood that a lot of people, so just under 1 billion worldwide, either need to, have to, or choose to continue working. But because of ageism, they can't get jobs. Like, good luck trying to get a job if you're even 50, 55. Ageism is alive and well in, the corporate world. So they really don't have many choices other than entrepreneurialism, but they didn't grow up with that. It's, they came from an employee background, and the old notion of go to school, get a degree, go get a career, climb the corporate ladder, get married, have 2.5 kids, pick a fence, and then get a gold watch and then die 10 years later. But that notion is so 1950s. It's not real anymore. And we really need to update our thinking because just 65% of North Americans, and it's pretty similar around the world, can't afford to retire. They have to work. They have to create income. And of the other 35%, many want to continue contributing, making a difference, mattering. So they're choosing to continue working. Really, about 80% of us are not retiring.
So what are the biggest obstacles older adults face when they want to start a business?
Well, I mentioned one, that transition from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. Many people didn't grow up that way. And so for them, it's this whole foreign way of being. The second thing is really, I think, starts right with the transition. Many people don't know who they are if they are not who they've been. So we define ourselves in our societies by our job, our title. And so who am I now that I'm not the CEO or the accountant or the mom or whatever? What happens when I'm not my role? So it starts with they have to figure out their identity, who they are now, what they want to be, do, and have in the next 20, 30, 40 years of their life. And what's that going to look like for them? So one of the biggest obstacles is clarifying their vision. Most of us live our lives for and about other people's expectations and needs and so forth, and particularly women. And so when I ask them when they're 55, 60, what do you want? A lot of times I get the deer in the headlights look, or the dog tilt head, or just panic, because they don't know. They don't know what they want. And so that's obstacle number one. Obstacle number two is clarifying their purpose. Because like I said, they thought it was their job. What if it's not? What if it's something else entirely? And I think our purpose is not what we do. It's the intersection between what we're healing from the past and what we long for the future for ourselves and others. And when we know what that is, I think it's consistent through our lives. How we live into it and express it changes over the course of our lives. But our purpose doesn't. So they need vision, they need purpose, and they need a plan. So what do I want to create? How am I going to create that? Be it a side hustle, mobile life, legacy project, nonprofit, business, whatever it is, they need to know what they don't know and how they can get support around that.
So what are the advantages of an older person starting their own business?
Oh, so many. Oh, it's so exciting. One of the biggest advantages that I see older people having in their life in general is we don't give our power away as much to other people's approval or judgments. We come back home to ourselves. And that's a big advantage because people get super stressed out most of our lives trying to be what we think other people want us to be. And so that's probably the number one advantage in my mind. Number two is, of course, we've got a body of expertise, wisdom, skills, abilities. So we bring all of that to the table. We're not starting over. We're starting with a huge foundation. Number three is we have what I call contextual insight. What that means is we've kind of been there, done that, and seen how things fit together, what the history has been that led us here. We've got kind of a whole picture, which can be a pro and a con, because we can live in the past and take that past and throw it on the future, and therefore not show up newly to the opportunity, to the moment, to the innovation. Or we can bring that contextual understanding to conversations, to intergenerational work, to organizations we consult for, to the marketplace, because we see that bigger picture. We know how things work, how humans work, and we can bring that understanding to conversations and to the work that we're doing. Probably the fourth one is we have higher degrees of emotional intelligence. Statistically, when companies hire older workers, company morale rises significantly, measurably, all the time, because we bring emotional intelligence to the workplace. The other thing is we have a wealth of contacts and people that we know and so forth in organizations, because we've been there, done that, got a lot of contacts, whereas younger people who are starting out don't have that. As long as we utilize it and call in that support. The other big thing that's going to be a big contributor for older people is we're heading into an employee shortage. More people are leaving the workplace than are coming in. And you can't manufacture a new demographic. So organizations are going to have to get over themselves and hire us, because we're going to be the only ones that stop them from going into business because they don't have employees. So we're going to be able to help that economic crisis by virtue of lots of people still wanting to work and able to work. So there's so many advantages we have. We're more grounded. We've got that, hopefully, wisdom. Now, wisdom is not always the purview of older people. I know some very stupid old people and I know some very wise young people, right? But in theory, we have more wisdom. So there's a lot of advantages we bring. And the disadvantages people like to paint us with, the myth of a lot of ageism, is that it's a myth. It's not actually true. People assume, oh, well, you're 61 or 65 or 70, you're going to want to retire right away. Those employees are actually very loyal and likely to be with your company far longer than any millennial you hire, which is pretty much guaranteed to leave within 2 to 2.5 years.
So you talked about some of the things that older people bring. I wonder if you see differences in leadership or differences in decision-making styles in the older adults versus the younger ones.
Absolutely. So one of the things there's certainly different styles between the generations. And there's often lots of talk about how difficult it is between them. But when they can work together, they are so complementary. The younger people and younger leaders bring what I call blank slate. They don't have all the preconceived notions. Older leaders do bring the experience, the contextual ideas, the history. And that can be helpful because it can make sure that you're not trying to reinvent the wheel over and over and over and over and over again. When they come together, that's the best innovation of all and the best leadership of all. So it's not an either or, it's a both and for the future.
So what services does Maturepreneurs do?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm so excited about what we do. We support those who are not clear on getting clear about what's next. What is your vision? What is your purpose? How are you going to live into that? We hold free reinvention roundtables, which are basically discussions of what's really going on. What are you struggling with? What is the reality? How do we support one another and brainstorming and so forth? So my goal in the world is to end ageism through entrepreneurship. And so it's really all the services that we do support that. It's about getting people visible, financially viable, and valued. And so workshops, coaching, programs, and soon a conference, because there's lots of events around ageism, lots of events around retirement, very little or any that I have seen yet for those who are refiring, not retiring. And that's about 80% of the older population.
So I assume it's very important to use your network.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the challenges, though, is as we get older, and especially when people retire, they sometimes lose track of their network. So if you're listening to this and you are pre-retirement or making your transition, hold on to your people and your relationships. So critical all the way through life. Our people and our relationships make the quality of our life, but really important and strategic if you're going to move into business later on or create some kind of project, nonprofit, whatever it may be. Relationships matter.
Can you give us some examples of successful businesses that older people have developed?
Sure. Colonel Sanders. He didn't create Kentucky Fried Chicken until he was in his 60s. But in terms of people I know, for example, there's quite a few people who are in the what I call keeping going category. So they started businesses and then they sold that one and moved on to the next one, started another one.
Are there red flags that adults should be aware of, that maybe this isn't the time for me, or the time in my life that I should be doing this, or that I don't have the skills? Have some people tried it and it hasn't worked out?
Yes, at every age. People try at every age and sometimes it doesn't work. Are there any red flags that you shouldn't do it? My answer is if not now, when? So the longer you wait, the more likely it is to not work, or you won't have the energy, or you won't have the desire, the motivation. You don't have time to waste. If you want to be the difference to somebody in this world, now is the time. As far as red flags, people tell me not everybody is entrepreneurial. I'm not sure I believe that. But I think there are some people who really struggle with some components. So if you are the kind of person who doesn't like to promote yourself, you've got sales and marketing resistance, you must learn how to do it, get over yourself, and bring in support to help you with both of those things. Otherwise, you cannot have a business that works. You'll have an expensive hobby, and that's not going to serve you or support you as much as it could. So that's really the biggest resistance and problem is people don't know what they don't know, and they don't bring in the support they need because we've kind of grown up, even though we all grew up in community and with a community mindset, our generation is also a bunch of lone wolves. We think we have to do it ourselves. And that will not work for you. That's a major red flag. If you believe that, that's going to make it so much harder for you to be successful.
How can older adults test a business idea without taking on too much risk?
Brilliant question. Essentially, the short version of that is do a bit of research to find out how big is the market, et cetera, for whatever your idea may be. And then go sell the product, even if it doesn't exist. Go see if people will buy it. If you're getting interest and people are buying it, then go build it. You for sure don't create a whole bunch of infrastructure, don't build a website, don't do any of that until you see if people will get out their credit card. So don't invest a lot of time, don't invest a lot of money, don't invest a lot of effort. You got an idea, go sell it to a few people. When they give you money for it, then you start calling in support to build it out.
Well, I was going to ask you about the money. Don't you have to have some money behind you to start a business? And where are you going to find it? And what if you don't find it?
Yes and no. So does it help? Absolutely. Bootstrapping is not easy and it takes longer. So bootstrapping is really good for developing discipline as an entrepreneur, but having money makes it not nearly as hard. I do advocate that people have enough money to carry themselves in whole or in part, and ideally in whole, for at least a year or some source of income to be able to do that. Because if you don't, you're going to get pulled off by your scarcity, by your, fear and so forth. Because it takes anywhere from 6 to 18 months to 24 months to build a business that's generating revenue for you. Most people will lie and tell you, oh, you can do it in a month, but you can't. So you have to have some way to support yourself. Now, the other option is you can do it a bunch of ways. You got some little bit of money, you can buy a business that's already existing. You can buy a franchise. Those tend to be expensive, but they are an option. You can get friends and family to invest. You likely won't get investment from banks or founders unless you've got VCs, unless you've got experience with that. And even if you do, there's still ageism that precludes them, even though we are more successful. So it's better if you have money, but it can also be an impediment. So have money is the ideal situation, but act as if you don't, so that you get busy at it quicker.
So if somebody's listening today and they have a great idea and they don't know where to begin, what would you suggest for them? Do you even suggest the kind of business they might go into or just
Absolutely.
how they change the mindset?
Both. So it's a great place to be because a lot of people don't even have any idea how they can monetize their skills and abilities. But if you've got an idea, do what Lynn suggested, test it out, go and do that testing. But what do they want to do? Take Clarity Compass workshops so you get clear on your vision and your purpose and how to apply it to a business and what your next steps are. But also, if people just want to have a chat with me about where do I go from here? How do I get started? I love having those conversations and I'm happy to chat with them for free. There's often resources in your community for getting going. There are programs for entrepreneurial startups, and they're free, they're government supported. They aren't targeted to our market. And in fact, they usually aren't even aware of our market. I literally just had a conversation with partnering with an entrepreneurial support agency yesterday. We weren't even on their radar, but except for exiting, but we are now. So there's lots of organizations that you can avail yourself of to get education, study books on business. I recommend Michael Gerber's The E-Myth as a primary fundamental reader for people about entrepreneurship and what it takes to become one. And get support with someone like me who can really help you figure out just what is that one next step. It can be overwhelming. You ladies know, it's a lot. It's a lot to create anything new, be it a podcast or a business or a nonprofit, whatever it is. You need support and you need a lot of it. So call in lots of support.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about the emotional hurdles along the way that you start and then you get a little money and then it doesn't go so well.
Yeah. Well, and so there's a couple of major trends going on that also add to this. There's a loneliness epidemic right now, and that, of course, impacts older people even more and solopreneurs. So you need community. Make sure you're connecting with people who get you, who are on a similar path, not just the people in your life, because they probably won't get you. They'll probably be telling you things like, oh, slow down, take it easy. Why are you working so hard? And all that other kind of nonsense. And the other toll is we've spent a lifetime working on being competent and knowing and having answers. Moving into conscious incompetence is really hard for us. And that's what we have to do. So, because we're learning a new skill, you cannot just hang out a shingle and expect to be successful any more than you would, say, okay, now I'm a brain surgeon and walk into an operating room. You got to learn how to do it. So that can be really uncomfortable. It pushes us outside of our comfort zone. And there is risk. Lots of people grow up with risk intolerance. So you kind of need to go against the status quo a lot. Fortunately, like I said earlier, we are not as approval driven as we used to be. So that helps us to be able to say, I'm going to do this for me. It is my time. Yeah, I get that it's scary and I get that you think I shouldn't be putting money into my business or into me, but I'm going to because I deserve to be happy and to have the life that I want. And there's no better investment.
What about your emotional hurdles and financial hurdles when you started?
Oh my God, forget when I started. Everywhere along the way. I've been an entrepreneur for 40 years and it can be quite cyclical. And what's interesting, I've been teaching personal growth workshops for 30, 40 years and, all of the inner work. We still have that stuff ourselves. So I go through my I call them shame shit storms where I'm go through my imposter complex, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or look at me, I'm a fraud, or no, this is not working, or oh my God, how can I be so smart and getting nowhere? And have went through that like a year ago in a really major way. If I wasn't smart and didn't call in friends and support and coaches and so on, it would derail me. So it's ongoing. Our humanity is an ongoing, lovely opportunity to grow. There's nothing better to me than seeing a client get that they matter and live into it in a way that they're making a difference in the world. It's where I get to see the ripple effect. And that's what fills my cup because then I get that I matter. And that's, so valuable to me.
Well, Jannette, thank you so much. I think we've all learned today that whether you're starting a business or exploring a passion, it's really never too late to create something meaningful. Our guest was Jannette Anderson of Maturepreneurs. Today on News You Can Use, we're once again warning listeners about a scam. Thanks to Stephen Weissman and Scamicide, we've learned there's a new scam that takes advantage of old technology, your landline telephone. Landline identity theft has recently been used by scammers to hack into someone's bank account without knowing the password or the account. How do they do it?
Many people no longer use landline telephones, but they have forgotten that an old landline number of theirs is still tied for security purposes to their bank account. Scammers will contact the phone company posing as the consumer to have their landline number moved to the cell phone of the scammer. The scammer then asks the bank to change his password, whereupon the bank, using its security protocol, sends a verification code to the old landline phone number, now controlled by the scammer, which enables the scammer to then change the password and access the victim's bank account.
Because many of us neglect or fail to remember to update security settings for our accounts, an old phone number or email address in the hands of a scammer can lead to disaster. To avoid becoming a victim of this scam, review all of the recovery and security settings on your accounts to make sure they are up to date and delete any old phone numbers or email addresses. If you're particularly paranoid, which I am sometimes, you may even arrange with your phone service provider to not transfer your phone number to another phone number unless you do it in person.
In these days of sophisticated scammers, you never can be too safe. This might sound like a time-consuming exercise, but when your money and identity are concerned, your time is your money. And that's our podcast for today. Our thanks go to our guest, Jannette Anderson of Maturepreneurs. You can learn more about Next Village San Francisco at their website, nextvillagesf.org, or by calling 415-888-2868. To learn more about assisted living locators, contact Senior Care Advisor Brent Hensley at BrentH@assistedlivinglocators.com. Our theme music is from Hook Sounds, and Claire Winslow is our engineer. And we thank you for listening. We'd love to hear what you would like us to discuss and discover. Please contact us at notbornyesterdaypodcast.org. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. All of these are free, and they let us know our audience better. Be well, stay strong, and remember, you weren't born yesterday. I'm Lynn Winter Gross.
And I'm Miriam Goodman.